Hello, welcome to this episode of WWRD. What would the regulator do? And for this episode, we've been asked a very simple question. I am a regulated firm. Am I allowed to make a decision? Now, the context for this, I guess, is that since the last financial crisis, about 10 years ago, firms have been under a deluge of new regulations and compliance obligations. But more than that, they've also been experiencing closer regulator scrutiny than they would have probably had before. So that if you are in an executive position, in a leadership position, it can feel like you're being micromanaged by legal compliance and the regulator. And so your ability to make decisions can be quite constrained. And you also know that the accountability that you have for those decisions has increased, both under fitness and probity, but also we know that we have the senior executive accountability regime coming down the tracks fairly shortly too. So can I make a decision? Well, not only can you make a decision, but absolutely you must make decisions, and you probably have to make them in short order without that kind of supervisory engagement back and forth with the regulator to kind of agree a common position. You're going to have to act without that. So in doing that, what are the things you need to take into account? Well, firstly, you have to put the needs of your customers, clients, investors front and center. Because from the regulator's perspective, their mandate is safeguarding stability and protecting consumers. So they really want to see that in you making your decisions, you're putting your customers front and center. You should also ask the question about whether there's any financial stability aspect to the issue that you're dealing with. And for most firms, there won't be, but it is a key part of the regulator's mandate. So it is worth just dwelling on that in case it is an issue. After that, then you're looking at what are the rules that I need to comply with? What are the parameters around my ability to make a decision? Because usually the rules will not be so prescriptive that they don't give any scope at all for how you comply with a rule. Usually they will give you the framework and allow firms to decide their own course of action based on nature, scale, complexity, but within the parameters of those rules. You're then looking at risk. So what is the risk that I need to manage, mitigate, eliminate? And then what are the options open to me as a firm to manage, mitigate, eliminate that risk in a way that makes the most sense for the investors that I am dealing with and serving, also taking into account any financial stability issues, but the nature, scale and complexity of the business, the environment that we find ourselves in, the time within which I have to make this decision. Having come up with a proposal, escalate it through the proper channels so that your governance arrangements are complied with, and be very careful at the end of all of this to document carefully how you have done what you've done, how you've come to the conclusion that you've come to, what were the other options that you discounted and why is this the right course of action for the business within the regulatory requirements that you're subject to. Keep that very well stored and recorded, because you might find your decision is questioned or challenged at a later date, and you want to make sure that you can stand your ground. And once you've gone through that process, you've taken into account the needs of investors, you're within the regulatory requirements. If you are challenged or you're asked to take a different course of action by the regulator from a supervisory perspective, that's fine. Supervisory discretion allows, and you might choose to do something slightly different, but you know that you're within your rights to do what you've done, provided you take this approach to your decision making. And then it's just a matter of getting on with it and living life day to day, as we are all doing in this current environment. Thank you very much for watching this episode of WWRD. We'll catch you next time, and in the meantime, please do stay safe, and we'll see you later.